Sacrifice Medal was created in 2008 as a way to formally recognize those who have been wounded or killed by hostile action. The medal may be awarded to members of the Canadian Forces, members of an allied force working as an integral part of the Canadian Forces, or to Canadian citizens under contract with the Government of Canada on the condition that they were deployed as part of a military mission of the Canadian Forces. Members are eligible for the medal by wounds or death on or after October 7th, 2001, where injuries were the direct result of hostile action in honorable circumstances or under honorable circumstances as a result of an injury or disease related to military service. The Sacrifice Medal replaces the Wound Stripe. The Wound Stripe was a distinction of dress used from World War I, usually a gold bar sewn on the sleeve of a uniform. A 36mm wide silver medal, the Sacrifice Medal has the contemporary effigy of Her Majesty, the Queen of Canada, wearing a Canadian crown of alternating maple leaves and snowflakes. The inscriptions Elizabeth II, D.G. Regina, Latin for by the grace of God, Queen, in Canada, are around the circumference. Since the 19th century, it has been common practice to have the monarch's effigy on the face of the medal, and the reverse having what the medal was for. On the reverse of the Sacrifice Medal is the Statue of Canada, designed by architect Walter Seymour Alward for the Canadian National Vimy Memorial, and symbolizes Canada, the mother of a nation grieving for her fallen. She faces a large field of loneliness and isolation, as well as the future. The hooded woman has her head heavy, her eyes downcast, and her chin resting on her hand. Peace, honor, and sacrifice are symbolized by laurel branches in her right hand. The medal is a straight slot suspension bar with the royal crown. The ribbon is a standard 32mm wide watered ribbon of red with two thin white stripes and a thick black stripe. The black represents mourning of the dead in the shock of the wounds. Red is the blood that has been spilled, and the white is the hope of a better future. Red and white have been the official colors of Canada since decreed by King George V in 1921. A raised silver bar with a maple leaf centered is used to denote a second or more awarding of the medal. Silver, gold, or red maple leaves are used on the undress ribbon to indicate bars awarded. There is no post-nominal with this medal, meaning there are no initials for after one's name. To date, over 700 medals have been awarded, including over 20 with a bar.
From a very young age, he was very inquisitive and very loved hockey. I think he started to skate when he was like 2 and a half, and then sports always played a big part in his life. Wayne Gretzky was his idol. I think he was in grade 6 when he decided to change his name to Wayne Douglas Gretzky. And the teacher was a little concerned and phoned, and I said, well, he knows what his name is, but if he wants to write Wayne Douglas Gretzky on his tests at school, that's, fine with us.
Yeah, he had a great smile, loved sports. We didn't have to worry about any of both him and Brendan getting in trouble because they were too busy on the hockey arena or the rugby field or whatever sport was going, they would play. And then because of I was a police officer, or am a police officer, and they wanted to both be policemen, so they decided to go the military police route. Matthew was older, so he went first. Both went to Westerfeld College in London. And then in 2003, August of 2003, Matthew got accepted to the military police. And then he had the opportunity to try out for a close protection team. He wanted to go to Afghanistan. The mission was underway by then, of course. So he was, I can remember him phoning home all the time because it was like tryouts for a hockey team. And he would phone home and he'd say, Dad, I made the cut, or I made the cut. He was always, and eventually there was 8 of them who got selected for the team to go and protect Brigadier General Fraser. And he was the youngest one ever selected at 22 years old.
We went to Trenton, and his grandparents came, and his grandma and uncles, and his brother and us, of course. We said goodbye to him in Trenton, and then he'd call home from Afghanistan when he could, and just update us on what was going on there. And he, because he got an opportunity to travel a lot of the country, he would talk about schools being built, and certain different infrastructure that happened there, and more about the girls being able to go to school, and the boys being able to fly kites, little things that our kids take for granted. On April 22nd, Matthew and 3 others were killed in a roadside bomb.
And that was in Gobad, Afghanistan. And then we got door knock here at 6:55 in the morning on Saturday morning. And it was 2 of my fellow officers came, Dave Mounsey and Russ Nesbitt. And they had a short, fat guy in between them. And I didn't know his name, still couldn't tell you his name to this day. But I opened the door and said, hey, what's going on? And the short, fat, bald guy said, I'm the military chaplain. And of course, as soon as he said that, I knew that Matthew was dead. Well, personally, he had a great smile, and when he was in a room, you knew it. He was the life of the party and stuff like that. Militarily, he wanted to be there. All the soldiers that I've spoken to, both before and after Matthew was killed, wanted to go. He knew that he'd have a target on his back, especially looking after a brigadier general. You know, if the Taliban were wanting to go after the big guy, all they got to look for is the 6'2", blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy, and they knew the general was close by. But we were fortunate because when he called home, like Laurie said, we knew they were building schools, hospitals, doing this, and the general public may not have had that information because wherever the general went, Matthew went, so he had opportunities to go out. So we knew there were successes in Afghanistan. So I would like to think his legacy would be helping the people of Afghanistan. Time will tell, maybe 10, 20, 30 years down the road.
Along the highway of heroes we stand, in a show of gratitude from right across the land, standing on the bridges faithfully, because you keep our true north strong and free.
Say what?